Live streaming is on.
Once again, good afternoon to everybody, or good evening to certain areas of the world. We are now on the Kashmir Youth Conference, which is COVID-19 Kashmir Youth Conference is now live, and it is now being telecast everywhere. Um, Today's conference obviously is designed to highlight the issues of youth in Indian occupied Kashmir. You have the draft joint statement sent to all the participants, all the panelists, and I'm sure all of you have gone through it. The important bit of it is that we have to concentrate on the situation in the occupied territory as it prevails during COVID-19, this pandemic period. This is what is very crucial and important. In our analysis, that is OKC's analysis, and I'm coming back to OKC in a minute. In OKC's analysis, there are three major factors which youth is facing even under COVID-19 pandemic. First and foremost is that Indian terror it has not stopped in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This has to be borne in mind. Perhaps the government of India's thinking is, and wrongly so, is that because the world is engaged with combating or fighting COVID-19, therefore they are at liberty, they have a free hand to do anything, whatever they wish to do in the occupied territory. The main thing that they have done over these COVID period or pandemic period is, firstly, they increase the spree of arbitrary arrests and unlawful detention of Kashmiri youth. And it is estimated that about 1,000 odd Kashmiri youth, or 1,300 Kashmiri young people have been arrested and unlawfully detained. So we thought that during this period, the people should be released from prisons, but it's a reversal in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So that is the first and foremost. The youth is facing this new challenge, that they are being arrested left, right, and center. Secondly, which is causing us very grave concern, is cordon and search operation. And again, the main target of this is the youth. They are cordoning off the areas, conducting search operations in various localities of the occupied territory, and looking for young people. And that is the second major problem that youth is facing during this COVID-19 situation. And the third is obviously in this cordon and search operations, what they intend to do is they simply try to locate youth and cause what is termed as commonly fake encounters. And in fake encounters, they kill the Kashmiri youth. So these are major three problems that we have analyzed have been happening since COVID-19 from March onwards. These are the issues those need to be addressed during this conference. And I look forward, to be quite honest, for very valuable contributions from all the participants in this conference. OKC, Organization of Kashmir Coalition, a very brief profile of OKC is that it is the combination of various international and local organizations primarily working on Kashmir, but there are few international organizations which have a much broader um, uh, agenda and broader spectrum, but they are part of OKC, such as IRAM and IMWU. They are United Nations accredited organizations. They do a lot of work on Kashmir within the United Nations setup and intergovernmental setup. So these are the organizations which are part of the coalition, and Kashmir Youth Assembly is one of the components of OKC. Therefore, OKC decided that this during this COVID period, the intention is to send the message very clear to everyone and to every stakeholder. The Kashmir will not be forgotten, or occupied territories people will not be forgotten during this COVID period, COVID-19 pandemic, and that we will continue to raise the voice wherever it is possible and whenever it is possible. And therefore, we have introduced this series of virtual meetings, virtual conferences, to highlight the issues that various fields of Kashmiri people are facing. For example, we had the first main conference in which politicians were there, jurists were there, human rights defenders were there, and a joint statement adopted there was sent by the president of the all-party group on Kashmir in the European Parliament to all the stakeholders. For example, it was sent to the Prime Minister of India, it was sent to the Prime Minister of Pakistan, it was sent to the European Union, it was sent to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and the statement also went to the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. So that all these people, all these stakeholders are in know that we are there to raise the Kashmiri voice. That is the aim. The second conference was organized by Madam Shamim Shawl, which was linking primarily with the problems faced by women. And we highlighted those problems in that conference. Again, a joint statement was adopted, which is being sent same to the same stakeholders, so that they remain aware what problems are being faced during COVID-19 by Kashmiri girls and women and young children. So that was the purpose of that conference. Now, this third conference today, under the sponsorship of OKYC, but being held by KYA, is for the youth. With these concluding remarks, I think now we go to the main conference now. As you could see, everybody has the agenda before them. We will start with the Professor Nazir Ahmad Shawl, who is the chairman of South Asia Center for Peace and Human Rights, SACFA, and is one of the pioneers of Organization of Kashmir Coalition. An outstanding personality who has a long history of fighting for the people of Kashmir, a very strong and robust human rights defender, and works at all levels with all governments and with all intergovernmental organizations. Professor Shawl, you will open the conference this afternoon with remarks from you, and hopefully I would advise or give my very sort of mild instruction, you could put it in that way, that the intervention shouldn't be no less than 3 minutes and no more than 5 minutes. Professor Shawl, the floor is yours to open the conference. Thank you. Professor Shawl, can you hear me? Professor Shawl, I can see you. I can see your half face.
Do you see my full face? Hello?
We can
Hello?
hear you, sir, now.
Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can, sir. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Barrister Trambu, colleagues in the Kashmir Youth Assembly, my dear participants, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. I must first record my sense of appreciation for Barrister Abdul Majid Trambu, whose initiative is to continue highlighting Kashmir in international focus, keeping it in international focus. And as he has already told you, that this is the third of this conference is the third of the series which are being held in these days when pandemic COVID-19 has engulfed the entire globe. COVID-19 Kashmir Youth Conference, which is due to start, and in fact, it has already been it has already started. It will ultimately adopt a joint statement to be forwarded to the relevant corridors in international of diplomacy. This conference, as has been already told, is being organized by Kashmir Youth Assembly in conjunction with Organization of Kashmir Coalition. And I would like to say that we are holding this conference at a very critical time in the history of the world. And Kashmiris at this point of time are confronted with two types of immediate challenges. One is the challenge posed by COVID-19, and the other challenge is the state-sponsored terrorism that they are facing. Even in these days when United Nations Secretary General had requested and in fact appealed to all the leaders of the world that we must try to address the COVID-19 pandemic by having a ceasefire, a universal ceasefire, and start a process of reconciliation in the conflict areas. Dear friends, coronavirus is itself a big malady and which has crossed all the geographical borders. And what is being done in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir is that it has affected the life of everyone, because they are at a loss to understand that how their rights for better health care could be looked after when they are face to face with the operations like catch and search operation, and all those norms that are being advocated should be practiced. Those are not available to them, and so this is a very serious matter. Youth of Kashmir have grown up in the convulsions of the ongoing conflict. Different youth movements have surfaced in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir since 1963. And even at this time, we find a resurgence of the youth. From 2008 onwards, we see the role of youth in this freedom struggle. And I would not delve exhaustively on this subject, but I would like to say what was said by what was written in Harvard Review, And it says, critically, the rage of the young, inbuilt on the larger and longer sense of Kashmir, victimhood, injustice, and insecurity about their identity. This is, of course, rooted in a deep sense of discrimination, injustice, and widespread anti India sentiment. What is needed is complete recognition of the indigenous nature of Kashmir freedom struggle. The role of international community is critical. UN Secretary General's assertion for a ceasefire in all the conflict-torn areas and to initiate a process for resolution needs to be heeded with conviction and urgency. And here I would like to say that India unethically is trying to destroy the identity, the political identity, and the what we call the very personality of the state. And the plan that has started on 5th of August 2019, that plan, the second phase of that plan, India is implementing in these days when COVID-19 has engulfed the entire world. And they perhaps think that they will escape the international radar for doing all these things. But I think voices of reason everywhere in the world are looking at these developments, and they cannot remain silent. And we too, through this youth conference, want to send a categorical message that Kashmir will continue to reverberate in every international forum, even in these days when COVID-19 has taken over the world by surprise. And I hope that the participants who have joined today, they will provide an input and their wisdom, and this wisdom we will be putting together, and we will be forwarding it to the relevant quarters. And I hope that by raising your voice, you are raising a voice, all of you are raising a voice for justice. And there is no justice without peace, and there is no peace without justice. And I hope we, as the promoters of peace everywhere in the world, particularly in the conflict-torn state of Jammu and Kashmir, we will continue to do this work. Thank you, and wish you the best of time, and we would listen to the wisdom that you will be providing to the conference. Thank you.
Shawl Saab, very grateful for those introductory remarks. Obviously, you have precisely echoed my sentiments, and those are the sentiments of every Kashmiri. And thank you very much for that excellent contribution. Now we move on to the president of KYA, who has the responsibility to run this organization, who looks after the affairs of this organization. And he is a very well-known community leader within the borough of Hounslow. And by profession, he is a practicing lawyer, what we call here in this country a solicitor. And he has a high track record of being a human rights lawyer, and he has at his credit considerable number of cases in the higher courts of the United Kingdom. Zubair Awan is a very well-known personality, and obviously his contribution to the Kashmir cause is impeccable, and I hope that he continues with his good and great work. Mr. Awan, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Barrister Majid Rambu, and I would like to say thanks to Professor Nazir Shawl for your extending the opportunity to the Youth Assembly, Kashmir Youth Assembly, to be part of the OKC. and also taking the opportunity to thank everyone today in this conference. I will begin to give a little introduction of the Kashmir Youth Assembly. Kashmir Youth Assembly is an organization primarily comprised of the Kashmiri youth diaspora and their supporters in the cause of Kashmir for right to self-determination. The focus of Kashmir Youth Assembly remained on twofold, basically. The first one being to propagate and cause awareness for the Kashmiris' right to self-determination across the diaspora and also other communities in Europe in particular, and to highlight the right to self-determination as being the fundamental right for the Kashmiris. Besides, the second part of it is to highlight the human rights violations perpetrated by the Indian occupation forces in the disputed territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and those continuing human rights abuses, particularly on the Kashmiri youth that we all have witnessed, have uh, increased in the Valley of Kashmir. So these are the basics of the framework that within which we work, along with the General Secretary Yasser Ahmed, whom you will be listening later today, and of course the other board members on Kashmir Youth Assembly under the supervision and direction of our two great leaders of Kashmir in the diaspora, Barrister Abdul Majid Tambusab and also Professor Nazir Shawl, with their vision and with their guidance. That is Kashmir Youth Assembly, and obviously I'll take without any further ado, I'll come to the conference today. As the title of the conference suggests, COVID-19 Kashmir Youth Conference, the focus will remain on that what is happening as we are going through the pandemic, the worldwide unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. Um, uh, Friends, colleagues, you will have noticed while the world is in a lockdown situation in the given circumstances, however, the Indian Hindutva-led regime is not at rest to in their continuing efforts to suppress the Kashmiris, in particularly the Kashmiris struggle being led and continued by the Kashmiri youth. In their effort to do so, you will have noted that those Kashmiri youth that has been detained as an aftermath of the 5th of August 2019 lockdown, they largely remains in detentions across Indian mainland in different detention centers and prisons. The human rights violations continued, in fact, on the rise. The laws have been amended arbitrarily, unconstitutionally, and then they have been implemented again, taking the advantage and opportunity provided to the tyrant forces in state of Kashmir, that opportunity was seized and the new domicile laws were introduced to continuing suppression and oppression of the people of Kashmir. The focus, as we have seen over the period, remained on how to subjugate the youth and to subject them to unprecedented human rights violations, arbitrary detentions, arrests, and beatings, fake and state encounters to ensure that the Kashmiris' right to self-determination struggle and movement does not transcend and transfer to the next generation. My dear brothers and sisters, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is what is a long plan of a state who is in much more in a situation which really wants to carry on and continue with their effort to further strengthen their oppression. So with this Kashmir conference today, obviously we will be hearing from your very to your contribution today, and of course we will be adopting the joint statement that has been circulated already to yourself with your input in it. And with that, once again, I would like to say thanks to yourself and the organizers and our both Barrister Majid Trumbu and Professor Najib Shawl for having us today on this Kashmir conference. Thank you very much. Back to Barrister.
Thank you, Awan Saab, for that wonderful contribution and also analyzing KYA's main objectives. Obviously, Mr. Awan has highlighted the joint statement, the draft joint statement, upon which you need to concentrate, as it will come up for discussion a little later. That concludes our opening statements. Now we go to the distinguished young participants or panelists of this conference. First of all, it is Shiraz Yunis, who is National Coordinator, Muslim Affairs to the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. I believe it is a very great honor for him to be on this Kashmir Youth Conference. Shiraz Yunis Saab, the fact of the matter is that the government of Sri Lanka's contribution in supporting the Kashmir cause has always been there, and they have supported vehemently, to be quite honest, the Kashmiri people's right to self-determination and upheld the United Nations resolutions on Kashmir. Your contribution, therefore, is of immense importance to us, and your presence being here is important, immense importance to us. So, Yunis Saab, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening from this part of the world, and good afternoon to the other parts. Respected Chairman, Professor Nazir A. Shawl Saab, the President of Kashmiri Youth Conference, Zubair Awan Saab, the conference moderator, Barrister Abdul Majid Trumbu, and my dear friend Yasir Saab. The main purpose is today regarding the Kashmiri youth, and I'm very much honored and privileged to be part of this distinguished panel to express my views and ideas for a few minutes. Respected panel members, I do start my contribution. Kashmir, the word, the land, and the Kashmiris, we have been speaking about it for the past more than 70 years. 7 decades is a very long time, and a long wait for people of Kashmir for their freedom, for their rights to self-rule in their own land. There have been many UN resolutions since 1948. Has any resolution been practically put into practice or implemented? Where are the human rights? The world is speaking with a very high voice. Oppression of youth, who are the lifeline of any community and country, is a point of concern. When the youth, the lifeline, is broken or stopped or blocked the development of that region, of that race, country, and above all, the humanity stalls. So it is very important that youth is given their due rights, basic rights to education, freedom, and self-explanation. The right to self-explanation and viewing their views and ideas to the world. There have been many human rights violations gone visibly unnoticed. Who's there to take responsibility? My worst fear is, are the rights of the people of Kashmir being oppressed democratically under the guise of democracy? I would repeat this quote. Are the rights of the people of Kashmir being oppressed democratically under the guise of democracy? This same statement I gave in an interview in Islamabad when I was there in February. I had the privilege to meet the president of Azad Jammu and Kashmir on February 19th, if I'm not mistaken, 2020, in Muzaffarabad. We had a long discussion. We had a question-answer session, and the youth was another subject of concern. Even the president reiterated the value and the importance of youth. The solution I see is a tri-party negotiation. See, on a serious note, comprising India, Pakistan, and the people of Kashmir. Instability in Kashmir is creating instability in the whole region. I would say that especially in the South Asia. The immediate step I see is a revival of SAARC, that is South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, which was created with a purpose that all the issues regarding the region are resolved in a very peaceful manner. But what I see is when Pakistan tries to hold the summit, India objects. And because of this war of these two superpowers, I would call them nuclear superpowers of Asia, South Asia, is creating a disturbance for other Kashmir, especially the Kashmir region, which is an international subject, which has been the international subject since 1948. The two countries have fought 3 wars, namely 1948 war, 1965 war, and Kargil. The amount of destruction the youth had, which has affected their livelihoods, which has affected the mental status of the population of the Kashmir, the Kashmiris, the young women, the young ladies who have been oppressed, I would say, and they are not being given their due rights, the basic rights, and which is a very point of concern. I will finish it very quickly with 1 or 2 minutes. You cannot suppress an ideology by force. You cannot suppress ideology by force. Kashmir is an international issue, like Palestinian issue. These two issues, that is Palestinian and Kashmir issues, has been longest unresolved issues in front of United Nations. Why it is not being concerned? Why it is not being given due priority? Why? After that, most recently we have seen in the past decade the creation of East Timor and creation of South Sudan in no time. And Kashmir issue, which is the core issue of the region, of the world, I would say, which is the cause of G8 power struggle. When they come, G8 meetings it is held, UN Security Council meetings are held. Kashmir is a core issue. Why nobody is addressing it? Why people are silent? Why the leaders of the countries are being quiet on this? Is the economic reason the only reason I see? The economic benefits? And what about the rights of 8.5 million Kashmiris? I had the privilege of visiting both parts of Kashmir, the Indian-controlled Kashmir and Azad Jammu and Kashmir. And I have seen the difference in both the areas. I had the privilege of meeting a lot of people, youth. The Kashmiri youth are very talented in sports. And they are being not given proper recognition. And the youth of present youth, we have been seeing this This conflict has been dragging on for 7 decades. How many youth generations have passed? I think minimum 3 to 4 youth generation has grown old. So what about their talents? What about their ideologies? What about their contribution to the society and the world and the country itself? Are we going to continue the same way? Aren't we going to find a solution for that? Militarization or forceful is not the solution for this conflict. It is simply negotiation. Negotiation, including the people of Kashmir. No other country can negotiate on behalf of Kashmiris. It has to be Kashmiris themselves with those countries. Then only the solution will come. Countries will give their suggestions, but it has to be implemented, borne, and really carried forward by the people of Kashmiris. And Kashmiris are very much, I would say, the tolerant community. One of the most tolerant community and most pressure-taking, absorbing community, which is very much appreciable thing. And it is a divine blessing, I would say, to the beautiful land, which is a blessed land, I would say. And one poet has taken many more things about it. Coming back to the youth are very talented of Kashmir. And I have seen they have been blessed with nature. Youth are blessed in many talents, but Kashmiri youth are blessed with nature as well. So it is another thing. Their hospitality is amazing. I have enjoyed that hospitality. Kashmir is the Kashmir. I see it is everyone's responsibility living in the region to come forward and to help find a solution that will result and which will benefit the whole world. And one last point I would say is that we are, as Sri Lankans, we love Kashmiris. And as just the moderator told now that Sri Lanka has been very much flexible in their views. The government is very much good regarding the Kashmir issue. The same thing is with the Palestinian issue as well. Our current Prime Minister, Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa, has been the voice of Palestinians in this part of the world. And what we will do, we will always be with the Kashmiris and with the Palestinians, inshallah. And long live Kashmiris, and may they get their freedom at the right time and very soon. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Shiraz Yunisa, for that excellent contribution. In fairness and frankly speaking, your contribution has taught me few things, and which I probably will be using in future in my writings and in my presentations, such as you said, the right of Kashmir, the Kashmiris' democratic rights are being oppressed under so-called democracy. If I got the terminology right, if not, you could guide me, and perhaps I will put it in much more the way you have.
I would like to add it that way. Are the rights of the people of Kashmir being oppressed democratically under the guise of democracy? This is my own view and my own suggestion.
Democratically under the guise of democracy. Yes, that is something that I have learned today, and thank you very much for those very, very powerful words. Very kind of you, and thank you for being with us and being part of us today in this conference. I am very, very grateful, sir. Now we move on to from I think it was Colombo. Now we move on to Saudi Arabia. Dr. Asif Dar, who is a Kashmiri activist and a doctor of medicine by profession, but has worked tirelessly on human rights issues of the people of Kashmir. And obviously, I think he will be in much more powerful position to describe us how Kashmiri youth are suffering, even medically, during this COVID-19. Dr. Saab, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll directly come to my presentation, inshallah. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So actually, for the sake of understanding, I have just divided the political issue, the scenario in Kashmir, into some small subgroups. Let's start with political deterioration. The youth have been pushed to the wall. 13,000 of them are in jails right now, post August 5. Since we are talking about the COVID, look at the scenario in Kashmir. In the last month of April, 30 youth have been killed by the Indian occupational forces, and only 8 have died up to now since the corona came. Now the worst case scenario which is coming up, they are labeling the civilians as militant associates and then brazenly killing them. A 14-year-old child, namely Muhammad Hazim Butt, was killed in cold blood on 4th of May, initially dubbed as a militant. Later on, it was found that he was a mentally challenged child who was killed in cold blood. And to add to the insult of the family, the body was denied to the family. It was buried somewhere 30 kilometers away from the hometown. The other human rights violations which are going right now so brazenly are the return. They are not returning the dead bodies of our freedom fighters to the families under the garb of COVID-19. Medically, I know how this can be handled. Very easily, they are handling the dead bodies of the COVID patients, but they are denying us just to humiliate us, which is a direct violation of the Rule 114 of the International Humanitarian Law. There is no space for any dissent, any political dissent. Whosoever talks is either arrested or an FIR is lodged and he is put behind the bars in the name of law and order and anti-national activities. Look at the press freedom in Kashmir. An international award-winning journalist, Asif Sultan, is behind the bars still for a story he did somewhere back. Masrat Zahra, Gawhar Gilani, Pirzada Ashik are the 3 other names which have been slapped. The FIR as well as the Anti-Terrorist Act has been slapped on them. Even with all these restrictions, our 2 great photojournalists, Dar Yassin and Mukhtar Khan, have pulled the prestigious Pulitzer Prize just 2 days back and giving us a ray of hope and honest and truthful journalism in Kashmir. Look at our economy. The economy, it's not the military siege post-August 5 in Kashmir. It's the economic siege as well. The biggest industries of Kashmir, the apple industry, the tourism industry has been devastated, leading to a loss of $1.1 billion US. Small businesses have been marginalized. Kashmir has been pushed into misery and poverty. The internet ban and communication shutdown has been used as a weapon of war in Kashmir. As of now, right now, when we are talking about Kashmir, the people of Kashmir have been put under internet ban, and even the mobile calls are not allowed because a brave freedom fighter, Muhammad Riaz Naiku, has been killed by Indian occupational forces today, and you cannot communicate to Kashmir right now. Considering the pandemic of COVID-19, 4G has never been established in Kashmir. This is not only illegal and immoral, it's absolutely criminal to the core. When the world was fighting with COVID-19, India pushed its agenda of demographic changes by pushing a law called Domicile Act, whereby foreigners will be given a citizenship in Kashmir and the locals will be marginalized, actually paving a way for Israeli-type settler colonies and a massive genocide in the coming years. our educational, we are talking, the world is talking about the educational stuff right now. Our kids are out of school since last 9 months. Scores of minors are detained in jails. When the whole world is concentrating on homeschooling with 2G network in place, we are still struggling to get it right. We are just struggling to get our kids back from jails to our homes. I would like to wrap up my statement with the following request to the European Parliament through our Kashmir Youth Assembly. As India has violated all laws of democracy in Kashmir, does India still can India be still recognized as a democratic country? Make me understand how. European Parliament should consider all sorts of economic sanctions and international sanctions against India for such brazen human rights violations. There should be a thorough workup done to recognize RSS a terrorist organization and immediate international ban put on Prime Minister and Home Minister of India for normalizing fascism and war crimes in Kashmir, not only in Kashmir, but all minorities in India. We demand an immediate removal of the military siege and communication blockade in Kashmir. Kashmir is an unfinished agenda of British colonialism of 1947. We deserve the right of self-determination at an earliest, before the massive genocide takes place on ground. Thank you very much, Chairman. I complete my statement here.
Thank you, Dr. Dar, for your wonderful contribution. There are 2 points that I would wish to highlight on your contribution. First is all the constituent members of OKC under the leadership of Professor Nazir Ahmad Shawl are planning to host media conference in the series of conferences that we are conducting. So we are now in the preparation of conducting or convening COVID-19 Kashmir Media Conference, which will highlight the points on journalists which you have raised. Second, the important point that you raised is how the Kashmiris in general and youth in particular is facing the current tirade in the occupied territory. I want to draw everybody's attention to a very important petition that we launched about a year back on the UN report. It is called Urgent Kashmir Petition, which is on change.org. So far, I'm very much pleased to announce that 629,000 people around the globe have signed that petition. I will try to get the petition and show you the picture, but if you could go on change.org, Kashmir, Urgent Kashmir Petition to the UN report, you will find it there. And I would encourage all of you to spread the word and get it to about 1 million, and that possibly then we will submit it to all the stakeholders to take the necessary action that is demanded within the petition. So could you please see to it that this is being done in the interest of Kashmir and in support of Kashmir. Now I move on from Dr. Asif Dar to Italy now. I don't know exactly where in Italy, but perhaps she will be able to tell us now. And the first female speaker on our conference this afternoon, Marina Zucca, who is an expert in international human rights law and international criminal law. I understand she is a very strong human rights defender, and she probably can give us something more about herself. Madam Zucca, the floor, or Mademoiselle Zuka, the floor is yours. We can't hear you. Are you muted? Yes,
Can you
now,
hear me?
now we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. When we are
Again, Madam
where
Zuka,
it is.
let me come back to you. There is some interruption in your internet. You are not getting through properly. If you could increase your internet services, that would be very good.
Because I can see you.
I can see you, though blur, but I can see you. Okay, you try, you carry on. Let's see. Let's try it. You start, please.
As I got my master degree in human rights and international law, and I've been dealing since many years with the issue of Kashmir. And today I will focus my speech on the human rights violations and United Nations and international community Kashmir issues. So as other people here today have highlighted, the different human rights violated since the beginning of its lockdown in August 2000. So I would like to remind the people that are listening, lockdown in August 2000, not in March or February as moreover, there is of human rights and use of force in Kashmir to the freedom of movement and freedom of spread. So all those have altered and worsened freedom of health rights of all population in Kashmir. Because people in Kashmir have not been properly informed about all the means that have to be used in the fight against COVID-19. This situation of all those restrictions of movements, restriction of speech have also read the violations. Can you hear me?
Yes, with some interruption. Yes, we do hear you. Carry on, please.
Okay, so I was saying that in this background of human rights violations, young people are suffering for most consequences. One consequence, so people actually they don't know about all the means to be used COVID to protect themselves, what can they do and what they cannot. On the other hand, talking about young people, we are dealing with people that need to be educated also in order to fight the disease. And as it has been mentioned, I would like to remember that Kashmir as the situation in Gaza Strip. Kashmir also militarized areas. Information, the use of internet, use of the spread of the medicine and so on in those two areas of the world are very restricted, and they are affecting the human rights and the everyday life of people living in this area. So you have mentioned the role of government, but I would like to remind about a tool that has been established by the United Nations, that is the responsibility to protect the democratized states have in regard to those people suffering for human rights violations. So the whole international community has to deal with this. International community has to face this issue and take steps in order to prevent other human rights violations and to reach people that are already suffering against those going within population. Last but not, I would like to remind a point that I have already underlined with the United Nations. Against women, I have already reminded that many in Kashmiri situation.
Marianne, can you just hang on for a minute? I'm getting constant messages, and I think every one of you are seeing them. Please request everyone to mute their microphones. I think I hear constantly some buzzes from Professor Shawl. Can you please mute your microphone? And even Marina is saying, I can only hear noise. So if everyone can please mute, that would be very helpful. Please. Now I think Mariana is she there? Are you Mariana? Are you there? Please continue.
Yes.
Please.
So I was saying that young people bring not consequences due to the restriction of movement and restriction of movement not only of people but medicines, goods, food, and but the young people are also suffering for the restriction on the right of education. Also, United Nations has reminded about the fact that the right to be educated in order all the tools and all the fight against COVID-19. I would like to remind against Kashmir and the military of the violence against mostly young increase not been officially reported. It hasn't get justice for this issue. So, in my opinion, what Kashmir is really clear. We are going to near Asia. So the international community has stepped to take all the possible steps to prevent the ongoing attempt to make a general by the Indian government. Here we have a state that is responsible for all those violations, for all those restrictions that are not according to the international law. So we call for the international community to act according to the responsibility of protect. I finished my speech. Thank you so much.
Good evening. If I may interrupt here, Dr. Trambo, this is Hassan Ibrahim from Azad Kashmir. If you could request to accept my request to move me up, as I'm in a low internet coverage area and I have to be somewhere for iftari in about half an hour, so I can just give my 2 words here.
Ibrahim Sahab, thank you for your intervention. We will definitely adjust you according to your request. Okay, sir. Let Marina Zuka finish first, please. Go on, Marina, if you have still to say something. Hello, Marina.
What? Yeah.
Go on.
Okay, I was saying that United make every kind of redress, and not only to the United Nations Security General Assembly, may take General Assembly and United when the city can speak about those issues. So we have two different of United Nations General Assembly, and on the other hand, we at the Human Rights Council, where also people can speak. Civil society can make her voice heard. I have finished.
Thank you, Marina Zuka. We could hear you, but with lots of interruptions. But thank you very much for your contribution. I have some requests here. You heard Sardar Ibrahim, Hassan Ibrahim. Now Nasir is in line next, and he is also in a hurry to attend another meeting. Nasir Muhammad is police advisor and General Council Brussels City member. But much more important than that is really Nasir is a very very active politician in the Brussels politique, and he has been a supporter of Kashmir cause throughout since I have known him, and he has been of great inspiration and help to me personally. Nasir obviously is well known within the Belgium territory, and particularly within Brussels community. He is a very successful businessman and a very successful politician, and I hope he keeps on his good work on Kashmir. Nasir Muhammad, the floor is yours, and please, since you are leaving, we would like to have your views also on the joint statement which you perhaps have read, as you won't be at the time of adoption here in the conference. If we can have your views on that as well. The floor is yours, Nasir Saab.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. My name is Mohammed Nasser. I am Brussels Police and City Councillor. I thanks and appreciate the efforts of COVID-19 Kashmir Youth Conference to highlight the issue and difficulties people are facing in Kashmir during COVID-19. Mental and physical stress that have become an important part of the discussion during COVID-19 has been part of the state for a very long time. According to a data collected by Doctors Without Borders, 1.8 million Kashmiris, are nearly half the adults, suffers from one or the other mental disorder, while 9 out of 10 experience conflict-related traumas. These millions have become tragic collateral damages in the war between militant and armed forces, and COVID-19 exacerbates this risk. Since the lockdown, the Doctor Association of Kashmir have highlighted the difficulties of providing telemedicine, since remote virtual consultations are the practically impossible due to slow internet services. Doctors are not being able to download or access important COVID-19 related guideline for intensive care management and medical information from the Ministry of Health website. Neither are they being able to take advantage of several government websites. These initiatives such as My Government India's WhatsApp cat chart, which respond to queries with text, infographic and videos are apps which connect people to health services and enable locations-based contact tracing. Lastly, due to restriction on media services, regular updated and information being provided by the World Health Organization to medical professionals and the general public is also being hampered. In order to tackle the public health crisis that is unevenly increasing hardships of certain regions and communities, it is important to highlight India's need to adhere to cross-cutting human rights obligation of minimum core content, equal access to healthcare for everyone, and access to internet for accessibility of crucial information. Thank you so much.
Well, Nasir Saab, thank you very much for your very timely contribution. But I would insist upon you, Nasir Saab, that you need to raise the profile of Kashmir and Kashmir youth, as you are yourself a young person within the Belgium politic and within the Belgium power corridors. And whatever assistance you would need from us, from OKC, or from any one of the constituents of OKC, we will be always there for you to give you that assistance. Please continue with your wonderful work on Kashmir, and thank you very much for your.
And I appreciate your efforts for the Kashmiri people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now, if Sardar Muhammad, Sardar Usman Atiq Khan and Mir Adnan Rahman Saab would consent, I would wish to give the floor to Sardar Hussain Ibrahim Khan. Will that be okay with both the gentlemen?
Please,
Sure,
please.
sir. Sure, please
No issue.
proceed.
Please.
Thank you to both of you. Sardar Hussain Ibrahim Khan is the president of Jammu and Kashmir People's Party and member of Azad Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly. That is his personal intro, but he is much more than that. His father is a colossal personality who recently passed, a very decent and a man of integrity in politics. And he had supported his views on Kashmir so broadly. And then he has been a wonderful advocate for the cause of Kashmir. And his father, who was also the president of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, that is grandfather of Hussain, that he was also an exceptional personality. The whole family has served the cause of Kashmir throughout their struggle. It's a great honor to have him today on this conference, and I'm pretty sure that he will carry on the legacy of his forefathers. Sardar Hussain Ibrahim Khan Saab, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trambo, for the eloquent introduction. I'm afraid I'm on a very short leash here, as we are about to open a fast here, and I have to be somewhere for that. And there's a very limited 4G coverage area as I'm in my constituency. Just to keep it short and not take too much time of everybody here, I would like to endorse all the things said here in the joint statement as well. But what's missing from the joint statement, I would like to highlight is that there's no.
Sardar
Um,
Saab,
uh,
Sardar Saab, please. We have interruption. We heard your initial remarks very nicely, but there is now interruption, and we can hear you, but we can hear you only in a distorted manner.
I'm afraid, as I said, I'm in AJK, and there's very space.
That is better. That is slightly better now. If you can carry on with that thing, that will be helpful. Thank you.
So, can you hear me now, please?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yes. So, what I would like to point out here very quickly is that in the joint statement, there is no reference to the LOC violations that India is doing constantly after the 5th of August, and to the brunt that has been taken to the other side of on the other side of LOC in AJK, also because all the population is that is at the line of control is a civilian population, and is taking the Indian brunt directly, which needs to be taken into consideration as well. Plus, as someone else also mentioned earlier here, that there's only one journalist, which was mentioned in the joint statement. There, I think, the three journalists which were, I think, taken up by the Indian forces, and there's there's a long list of other considerations which I would like to put up here, but I think I should rather email them to Dr. Trumbo, as there's a break in line here as well, which I think Dr. Trumbo will be kind enough to consider to put up in the joint statement. I would like to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to put in some word here, but as I mentioned earlier, that I'm already late and will not be able to join you for a longer period of time.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, Sardar Hussain, for that short contribution. Of course, you have made the few contributions on the joint statement. I think those should be taken on board by Yasser when he presents his paper, the draft one, and your proposed additions of LOC violations, and how the civilian population is suffering because of those violations. And also you made the point of other journalists who should be mentioned, and few other points that you want to put across. If you could please forward them before we will uh, uh, issue the or we will before send the provisional joint statement for approval by all the participants here today. So I look forward to receiving them. Thank you very much. Now we are back to our original agenda, and our next speaker is Sardar Usman Atiq Khan, who is Central Chairman, All Jammu Kashmir Muslim Youth Conference. I don't know whether I got it right. I know it is All Jammu Kashmir Muslim Conference, which is the oldest political party of Jammu and Kashmir. Again, Usman is personally known to me, and a very good worker for Kashmir, and now he has developed his ability to represent and lead the youth of, at least at this stage, in Azad Jammu and Kashmir. I must mention, he also comes from a dynasty of great people. His grandfather is probably the most exceptional person the Kashmir politics has seen. He is very much known as Mujahid Awal, and Sardar Abdul Qayyum Khan Sahab. Allah Ta'ala grants him in all the way Jannah, and be in the most comfortable position in Jannah. He has worked so much on Kashmir. He has been president of AJK. He has been prime minister of AJK, but his heart remained with the cause of Kashmir throughout. I have attended several meetings with him, with several heads of states around the globe. So his presentation of Kashmir cause was impeccable. We will always remember him, and he is always our source of inspiration. With these words, Usman is the grandson of this great personality. Now I give floor to Usman, and I'm sure he, if not to his grandfather's level, but he will be somewhere down to his perception of Kashmir issue. Usman, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Barrister Majid Rambu Saab and all the members of OKC and organizers for this wonderful initiative in this COVID-19 pandemic, especially after this is third conference in the row. First one was about the political leadership, and second one was about the women conference, and this is the youth. This is very encouraging. First of all, I must say that this is very encouraging to see that Kashmiris are not letting it go. That's the message. That's the real message, that we are there, and somehow, one way or the other, will pass through all the obstacles and keep highlighting and keep doing what we really intend to do, what we really want to contribute into all this situation. So that's very. And secondly, the youth. The topic of the youth is. Again, it is the youth has very long association with the Kashmir issue, and you can go back as long as go back to Chai Khana Tehreek, or go back to Muslim Young Men Association, or 1931, 32, 47, wherever you hit, you'll find a youth. Even in the latest this uprising in Kashmir, this Tehreek, this militancy, it was started by Yasin Malik Sahib in 1987 after the MAF elections. So it has always been the youth that has carried the weight forward, and it is very encouraging that they are being collected here. They are being caught together under. It's very important that the youth is supervised by experienced people, and otherwise, even until and unless the youth is very counterproductive and very challenging subject altogether. So by these words, I'm really grateful to all the organizers and participants at this hour. I would say that this is we have a very without wasting any time and getting into the details of what's going on in Kashmir. Most of the people here in this conference are very much have an overview of the situation and on a day-to-day basis about the atrocities going on on the Indian side of Kashmir, and vis-a-vis the COVID situation, this pandemic spreading all over the world and getting their attention. The government, the international corridors, the important corridors, the world corridors are right now busy with their own corona fight out. So in this situation, I have a few things to say here. First of all, I would say that this collective wisdom of Kashmiri youth altogether, we need to carve out an effective strategy to move forward. We have the Kashmiri youth in Indian occupied is supported by the youth here in Azad Kashmir and the youth of Pakistan. And I don't know if many of the participants would be knowing that there is a group of youngsters here in Pakistan and Kashmir who have been taking this message of Kashmiri, highlighting Kashmir issue on the social media and on the national level. I mean, they're making the Twitter trends here. They're making contents here. They're highlighting the day-to-day Kashmir situation. So we have a team here. We have people here, we're youngsters here who want to contribute something to the Kashmir issue. And right now they're very frustrated as to what to do. So we have what we need to do is that with the leadership of Barrister Majid Tarambusab, who was very experienced in international arena, with Shawl Saab. I've known him since my childhood days, and it's very encouraging. I must say it's very encouraging to see that next generation of Kashmiris from Indian occupied Kashmir, they are emerging and taking the charge as well, under the supervision. That's very important, that they have some sort of supervision, and it's not some sort of supervision. It's one of the best people available to us in the international arena. Is Barrister Majid Tarambusab and Professor Shawl Sab, and with Zubair Awan and Yasir Shawl. And there's many. I was just remembering about. I would like to mention Tarambusab, that Kokab was one of the brilliant stars. I remember we going together to the United Nations. I mean, I don't know where she has gone. There's so many other faces in Kashmir. So together right now, the challenge is, in my opinion, the challenge is to get together, to collect this human resource, this collective wisdom, and to carve out a rational, a strong strategy to highlight and keep highlighting this Kashmir issue in the future, in the post-COVID scenarios, and how the world is emerging. I guess this video conference. This is the new normal of the world, and we'll have to continue this in the post-COVID world for a very long time. Then again, one of the key issues is that we have a division in youth among Kashmiris. And somehow right now, it is the time that we can come up with some common grounds, and we can get them on one page. And there are some things that the Kashmiris all agree upon and join hands. So it is the time. It is the right moment. And I must say, Barrister, because we had a very esteemed leader. Barrister Saab was just mentioned. Mujahid Awal was there. Ghazi Millat Sardar Ibrahim Khan was there, and stalwarts people were there. But now it's getting it's places are getting vacant, these high places, and now we have to somehow get to teamwork, get together, join hands, and do some work, and real-time work. And we have a very brilliant human resource, the Kashmiri human resources, mashallah, exemplary, very brilliant. So let's just join hands, and it is up to the leadership of Barrister Saab and Shawl Saab and other whom they feel convenient to consult in this subject, to carve out a strategy, get this human resource together, and just let the people go. We have here, I must mention that we're here. One of the most effective people is Dr. Mujahid Gilani is here as well, and he's heading here. We have put a Kashmiri face here as well, within the youth in Pakistan, that he's leading the other Pakistanis and Kashmiris like me. We are part of his organization as well, that highlight the Kashmir issue on the social media and in the power corridors. I mean, we keep knocking the doors of the ministers and the Foreign Office and the newspapers, and some embassies are here as well. It's the constant run. But we need a centralized strategy, a platform, and I guess you're the best people, you're the best guys who can handle it, and I'm sure that you will be able to. We are there. We are at your service. We are at your assistance. Whatever there is, we can contribute from here and from Azad Kashmir and from Pakistan. We all support. Our heart goes out with our youngsters, with our brothers, mothers, fathers, sisters in Indian occupied Kashmir. And we must not. We cannot just say that we can feel the pain. We are living in an independent, a free place, but we must say that it's not comfortable. It's not complete. The freedom is not complete. The feel of comfort is not complete without while our other half is in such a brutal pain. Unfortunately, thank you very much, Barrister Saab.
Thank you, Usman. A few remarks. First of all, very good to see you in the car. And then I hope the lockdown is working in wherever you are. I hope so. But it's very nice to see you in the car. The second and much more important and serious issue, you made the point to have effective strategy and to pull together. Uh, Usman, can you mute your system, please?
Sir, I have.
Okay, thank you. So to have an effective strategy and to pull together the youth of Kashmir, can I suggest that it would be good if you could work on this initiative, and you could forward us your thoughts on how to develop this strategy. It's a very good suggestion, and we should take it forward. Thank you.
Sure, sir.
I think still you are not muted, Usman. Can you mute now, please? Now
Sir,
we
muted.
move, thank you. Now we move on to. There are lots of requests for quick intervention, and we are mindful of Aftar in the Asian part of the world that includes Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and other places. But please bear with us. You need to have patience, have break the fast, but be back on the conference. So next speaker is Mir Adnan Rahman. Um, Another young person who is on the forefront of the Kashmir struggle and Kashmir human rights. He is academic in law at the University of Azad Jammu and Kashmir. He was very recently in the United Kingdom, but unfortunately he had to leave back because of the COVID-19 situation. Um, COVID-19 has done one thing throughout the world, which only the people of occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Indian occupied Kashmir, had seen, and that is the lockdown. Um, uh, Perhaps it was not felt so much how Kashmiris are facing the lockdown and how Kashmiris' views are on lockdown. Of course, now the world is practically under lockdown, although it is now slowly easing out. I heard just now the Prime Minister of Britain has said that he's going to issue the statement on Sunday. Somebody's mute, somebody's microphone is on. Please, can he or she mute it, please? Thank you. And easing out is taking place slowly and gradually around the globe. But Kashmir and Kashmiris remain under lockdown. That needs to be borne in mind. Mir Adnan Saab, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Abdul Majid Trambu Saab. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you very well, sir. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity. Good evening to everyone. I'm thankful to Professor Nazir Ahmed Shawl Saab, Mr. Zubair Awan Saab, Organization of Kashmir Coalition, and Kashmir Youth Assembly for providing me this opportunity to speak about this very important topic. As we all know that the outbreak of COVID-19 has badly affected the entire world, and but its impact on the conflict zones is more worse. Recently, ICRC has issued a statement that the effect of the COVID-19 on the conflict zones is worse than its impact on the other parts of the world. Since Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir is a conflict zone and it is the highest militarized zone of the world. So the effect of the COVID zone on the Indian occupied Kashmir is really worse. But if we look at the history, the people of Indian occupied Kashmir has been undergoing through this lockdown for last 9 months, and their siege has just completed 9 months. But after the outbreak of the COVID-19, the impact on the lives of the people of the Indian occupied Kashmir generally, and on the lives of the youth of the Indian occupied Kashmir particularly, has been greatly changed. Let me share with you that according to the uh, census of 2011. Out of total 12.5 million population of the Indian occupied Kashmiri, there are around 70% youth below the age of 35. And the youth is the most vulnerable part of the Indian occupied Kashmir because they are at the forefront of this armed struggle, of this indigenous armed struggle. They have been facing the 900,000 of the Indian occupational forces. So there is a difference between the lockdown in Indian occupied Kashmir and the lockdown we have been observing everywhere in the world. The lockdown in Indian occupied Kashmir is forced lockdown. It is because of the 900,000 occupational forces. But on the other parts of the world, the lockdown is voluntary. And in Indian occupied Kashmir, this is a double lockdown. It's lockdown plus plus because people in Indian occupied Kashmir they have been seeking intervention from the world, seeking intervention from the UN, from the different parts of the world, from the humanitarian organizations, humanitarian workers. But for them, the world has been shut down. For them, the international crisis management system has been diverted to the COVID-19 situation. So for them, this COVID-19 has actually eclipsed the sufferings and plight of the people of Kashmir. And I must actually appreciate this effort because this is the right time to go for the virtual diplomacy, to highlight the miseries and sufferings of the people of Indian occupied Kashmir because Modi-led Indian government has very tactfully and craftily doing the political exploitation of the situation, and they have launched that domicile rules in this situation, and they have actually further aggravated the situation, and they have intensified their operations and their agenda in Indian occupied Kashmir. If you see, the situation has been worst in recent weeks, and every day we have been hearing about the fake encounters and targeting of the youth. So, if we generally talk about the issues being faced by the youth in occupied Kashmir, so first of all, I would like to say that the availability of the internet is very much important. Unless and until people, youth in Indian occupied Kashmir, if they do not get the connection of internet, they cannot survive this great pandemic because information is the most important thing which one can have in this situation. It is important for the academicians, it is important for the education of the youth, it is important for the medical practitioners because you need to know the remedies, you need to know the causes of the pandemic, you need to connect yourself with the international world. If you cannot connect yourself with the international world, you cannot survive. So depriving the people of Kashmir, particularly the youth, from the 4G internet connectivity means and depriving them from right to education, depriving them from right to health, depriving them from right to information, depriving them from freedom to expression. And then you have rightly mentioned in the joint statement, and I would like to actually reiterate that as well here. The cordon and search operations, CASO, that has been on the rise in Indian occupied Kashmir nowadays. Every day we listened about the CASO operations in Indian occupied Kashmir. So this CASO, cordon and search operation, has a very different dynamics. You have to cordon off the whole area and you have to search every house. Indian occupation forces, they enter into the houses, they arrest youth, they took them with them and they take them to the torture cells. They have their own concentration camps where they try to, for them, actually de-radicalization of the youth. So this agenda of the de-radicalization of the youth is on the way in occupied Kashmir. And these concentration camps, these torture cells, they are being used to target the youth in occupied Kashmir. And one of the panelists has rightly said, as one of the local organization has shared, the numbers that around 13,000 young people have been arrested through arbitrary detention by the Indian forces so far after this post 5 August scenario. And this CASO is happening everywhere and every day in occupied Kashmir. So this is actually has broadened the lives and honor and liberty of the people of the Indian occupied Kashmir to the worst situation. And then if we just talk about the political situation. The youth in Indian occupied Kashmir is educated, and they know that they have been into that indigenous struggle for the independence of the Indian occupied Kashmir. But the way India has been unlawfully and tactfully using this situation, exploiting the situation, it has further actually traumatized the youth of AJK who have on youth of Indian occupied Kashmir who have already been traumatized because of the long 9-month siege. So there is a threat to the mental health of the youth in occupied Kashmir. Youth, they have no access of the social psychotherapy, and they are more vulnerable right now, and they are the worst victim of this agenda of the Indian occupied Kashmir. So I would like to actually conclude here, because I have already taken 7 minutes, but I would like to give my way forward that people in Indian occupied Kashmir needs the support and cooperation from the people across the globe. But we know that the whole world is busy in coping up with the COVID-19. So this is right time to actually promote this virtual diplomacy, to go online through these seminars, through these workshops, so that we can keep the issue alive. This is right time to keep the issue alive, because the world after COVID-19 will be a different world. So this is the right time. We have to highlight the nefarious designs of the India, which has been taking place right now in the guise of the COVID-19. The way India has been using this situation to actually promote its own agenda in Indian occupied Kashmir. I am once again thankful to OKC and Kashmir Youth Assembly for providing me this opportunity, and I look forward to have more these sort of seminars, workshops, and webinars in future, so that we can highlight the ongoing situation of the Indian occupied Kashmir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amir Adnan Saab. Obviously, your video was not there. There are messages coming that we can't see you. Obviously, you didn't have the video link. But anyway, thank you for your wonderful contribution. Obviously, as you very much rightly highlight. Oh, now we can see you, sir. Now you were not before there.
There was some problem. Yeah. Yes,
but I hope everyone can see him now. It's good to see you. But thank you very much for your contribution. And obviously, as you highlighted, we got to keep on running the Kashmir issue in whatever way we can run, even in this lockdown situation globally. And I can assure you, and you will be part of that we will continue this work, and we will continue to bring up the issue in the power corridors of the stakeholders. Thank you very much, sir. Now I go to I don't know how I must apologize, Adriana George. I think I missed you when I moved a bit forward for Sardar Hussain. You had to speak much earlier, but are you there, Adriana? Yeah, you are there. Thank you. I apologize. I apologize that I think I skipped you, but you are there, and we will be very delighted to hear from you. Adriana is again a very well-known personality within the London Borough of Hounslow, a very active councillor, and she has at her forefront, at her heart, the human rights issues. Adriana, the floor is yours, please.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon from London, and probably good evening to all around the country, around the world. Salam alaikum to all the brothers and sisters, and Ramadan Mubarak to all of you that are celebrating and fasting in this holy month. Thank you very much for putting up this conference together and for inviting us, all of us here. It is really important that we all come together to create more awareness for human rights of Kashmiris. We all wonder what is the current state of Kashmir, as you all know, and we know it's still under lockdown. It's subject to dispute since 20th century, and it remains a question still. We all wonder, is Kashmir safe in 2020? It's still in lockdown? Well, it is, and it is imposed. As we all have rights, all humans have rights, Kashmiri have rights too. And it's probably great to think and see how we are feeling in here and how we are coping with this COVID-19 virus. and then how they're coping Kashmiris, because they under more pressure. They under 2 lockdowns. They are locked down because they've been imposed to, and then they also have, imagine how they have to cope with the virus if it's happening amongst them, which I'm sure it does. I'm sure there are new laws in Kashmir that they have been reinforced, and then the article 370 is not respected. And I think that it's time for all of us to put words into action. What we can do better. I have heard from all of you. Thank you very much to Mr. Zubair, to Professor Shawl, and to all others. I have seen Kashmir personally with my own eyes, and I'm impressed. I have met the Prime Minister of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Raja Farooq Haidar. We all been together to European Parliament to stand up and speak for the rights of Kashmir. And it's still a debate. It is probably a geopolitical reason that we have to battle with. It's not going to come overnight. So we will have to be blunt. We will have to have our voice heard and make ourselves heard. And with time, I'm sure things they're going to change slowly but steady, by spreading the word, by speaking to people, by making everyone aware. And also, I think so. It is time that from internally, that it has to be from internally Pakistan and Kashmir. I'm sure you all do that. We all have to start working together because it will make a massive difference. What I wanted to say, yes, they are under lockdown since how many months? 7 months ago, I think so. Since 7 months. Since
5th August 2019.
2019, yes. So very soon we will come to a year, which I hope is not going to happen. What we need to look into what advantages Article 370 has, and how can we debate that? How we can work together with United Nations to make things happen in a positive manner. And I'm sure we're all going to do our best. I'm personally ready and happy to assist as a human rights activist, because I'm a mother and I know how it is to have a child. I know how it is to be a daughter and how to have a father and have family. So we all know what it means to have how it is to feel under lockdown. You probably felt this right now in United Kingdom, in Pakistan and in Italy, and all other countries. When you don't have your own liberty and your own freedom, how you feel. However, we still have internet, we still have contact with family through phones, and we can keep in touch. What about these people in Kashmir? So yes, it is time for us to stand together and do work to create more awareness and put our words into action, right? Thank you, everyone. I don't want to keep it very long.
Thank you, Adrina, for that lovely contribution. Of course, we rely on your support within the borough and obviously within the Labour Party movement. And to be quite honest,
I'm also a Labour human rights activist, and I will strongly be till all the
but what we need to do, and I think Mr. Awan is also listening to me, is that the Labour Party's recent comments did not help the Kashmir cause. OKC has written to him, and we believe as Kashmiris that the Labour policy on Kashmir is to support Kashmiris' right to self-determination and protect and promote the Kashmiris' human rights. Starmer's statement is quite contrast to that. It's starkly contrast to that. And I hope within the Labour Party movement, you people will confront the Labour Party leader and insist upon him to retract his statement. I thank you very much, Adriana, for your lovely contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone, and have a lovely iftar when you do, and Ramadan to all brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Trambu Sahab, you are on mute.
Okay, sorry. You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Did you hear my remarks to Adriana?
No, no.
Well, I did say something about stammer, and
That we
I hope
heard, but thereafter.
we heard that. That's quite good. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Anyway, let's move on to our last two speakers. As I said, we are now 1 hour and 52 minutes in the conference, and I would very much request the last two speakers to remain within the time frame of 3 minutes, so that we can have then the discussion on the draft joint statement. Now, Sheikh Farkhanda is the next speaker, who is a Kashmiri activist and a human rights defender, and perhaps she is studying at the moment. Farkhanda, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much. Myself, Sheikh Farkhanda, and I born in a place which is not only known for its beauty, but also famous for standing down for the right of passage. Yes, I belong from the place Jammu and Kashmir. Because of few circumstances, we migrated towards Pakistan, and I'm living here for
Farkhanda,
past.
can I interrupt you for a minute? We don't
Yes,
have
sure.
your video.
Because of some internet problem, maybe that's why I switched off
Okay,
that.
that's fine then. That's fine. Okay, we will hear your audio. And I did see Shiraz Yunus coming back, but he has moved again. Okay, Farkhanda, there would be no more intervention. Please go ahead.
I just completed my 4 years bachelor's in media sciences from Rifa International University. First of all, let me commend the organizers of this dialogue at this crucial juncture, and also for providing me opportunity to give my input. Thank you so much. As we all know, Kashmir issue is not a tale of days, it's a conflict of 7 decades. Kashmir, this conflict dates back to 1947, the partition of Indian subcontinent into two sovereign states, India and Pakistan. As a Kashmiri, I assume world is well aware of this long lingering conflict, which has seen death and destructions in the last 7 decades. The United Nations, I feel that there's a bit contribution of lacking in implementation of resolutions about Kashmir issue. And the most affected area of the most affected the generation of this Kashmir is the younger one, the youth. So most of the people are facing in Kashmir is due to political militarized zone, and the occupation army enjoying impunity for its crime against humanity has led to a regime of human rights violation. Women and young girls are being harassed in habits. Sight of tinier innocent children are taken from them. And I will like to share some data which I collect from the Kashmir Media Services, which shows that from Jan 1989 till March 31st, 2020, 95,515 people were killed, 22,912 women widowed, 1,784 children were orphaned, 11,179 women were gang raped, and 1,59,450 innocent civilians were arrested. I think this policy of oppression and cruelty and barbarity in the authorities is still, in continuation. The struggle of people of Indian occupied Kashmir has seen many ups and downs, but the people of Kashmir never lost the hope, and despite enduring the worst kind of suppression and subjugation at the hands of Indian armed forces and political manipulations by New Delhi, the flame of freedom struggle was transferred from one generation to another.
Who is that?
At every stage, youth became the torchbearer of this freedom struggle. But these youth needs vision, guidance, and a roadmap to follow. It is the responsibility of elder generations to provide this vision and guidance in consultation with the educated youth living in and outside Kashmir, who have exposure at international level, and we all know how to use the modern techniques of lobbying and networking at international level. The youth of Kashmir, despite a multitude of problems like unemployment and poverty, had always been in forefront of movements and political changes, but they find themselves trapped in the culture marked by the violence and frustrations. Kashmir youth under occupation face intimidation, harassment, threats, bullets, pellets for expressing their political dissent. Almost a generation is lost in the struggle for the realization of right to self-determination. They deprived of proper education facilities, as 36% of the educational buildings are either occupied by army and parliamentary forces or they share their compounds. Due to frequent internet shutdowns and complete, I would say, clampdown of communication since 5 August 2019, over 10,000 youth lost their jobs, and students and researchers were also not able to carry on their works. Due to torture, intimidations, and natural raids and loss of kids and kin, a huge number of young population has developed psychological disorder. Human rights organization report that 13,000 young people between the ages of 9 and 16 have been arrested. Besides being subjected to torture, inhuman and degrading treatment or punishment, they are also subjected to a process of indoctrination. Post 15 August 2019, Indian troops have killed 100 youth. In recent days, during this pandemic, there is an increase in the Indian military cordon and search operations, resulting grave human rights violation, including physical intimidations and assault, arbitrary arrest, and unlawful detention and killings. The principal target of this terror is the youth, their families, and properties. The result of these kind of uncertain environment, the most impounding problem of our youth at present is frustration. They don't have jobs. They are living in uncertain condition. They face daily based humiliation, and this frustration is increasing day by day. What we can do to mitigate the problems of people of Kashmir in general and Kashmiri youth in particular, with the young generation living outside the conflict zone, have to take the responsibility to highlight the problems faced by Kashmiri youth without international counterparts, keep the international community updated about the political aspirations of people of Jammu and Kashmir and their heroic struggle to this end, create a common Kashmiri narrative to defeat the Indian propaganda. The world is increasingly valuing the role of youth in leading the continuing transformation of societies. The United Nations and international community share a long-standing belief that the imagination, ideals, and energies of young people are vital for the continuing development of the society in which they live. To raise awareness about this, again, the UN designated 12 August 2010 to 11 August 2011 as the International Year of Youth. This not only highlights the responsibility the world community places on young shoulders, but also points to a belief in the ability of young generation. This, however, is not necessarily true for the youth in the Indian occupied and Kashmir. The youth of Kashmir also have the dreams to change their society, but when it comes to actual engagement to accomplish the transformation desire, they feel left with few options, but the mass protest for which they are persecuted. In the Kashmir, the democratic space that can transform needs and ideas into a practical strategy is missing and has been taken over the Indian security apparatus and the fear it spreads. I'm not despairing, but yes, I am disappointed. It's my belief that Kashmir will get freedom, inshallah. It will happen for sure. But in my opinion, where the hope that must lives in the minds of Kashmiri, we need some kind of sport, the sport which help us not to surrender, but to continue our journey and struggle to some extent where we can see the bright future. But now I can say that what we are facing or what we are getting is just false promises and a dark future. But at the end, I would like to wrap my opinion that Kashmir needs to get freedom at any cost. However, their 72 years of battle and almost 9 months of curfew has placed every one of us in uncertainty that are we really human? One day the appraisal of Kashmir will get punished for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Farkanda, for that very well-researched paper. I hope that you will forward this paper to us. We will be able to quote from your paper at various aspirations and in our workings. And thank you very much for that. But
Thanks so much.
really, it is for young people like yourself to carry on the burden of Kashmir. And as you said yourself, that we will get freedom one day. We have to work towards it, and we need obviously the quality leadership among youth to carry this mission forward. And I wish you all the luck and all the support in your
Thank you so
endeavors.
much.
And you are welcome to consult Mrs. Shawl, myself, or Professor Shawl anytime you need any guidance or you need any support. And thank you very much for your help. My last speaker now is Iman Haider, who is uh, has been who has done her law degree in at the Lahore University of Management Science, LUMS. She is from Muzaffarabad, and she was I don't know where are you now, Iman? Are you in UK or are you back at home?
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you very well without your picture.
Yeah, well, I'm having some internet issues. That's why my only.
Where are you now? Are you back at home or are you here in London?
I'm in Muzaffarabad at the moment.
You are in Muzaffarabad. Okay, so she is now in Muzaffarabad, and while she was in London, she did carry the burden of Kashmir platform, and she did work on the Kashmir issue as much as she could, and as much as her education would allow her. We need people like Farkanda. We need people like Iman to carry forward the Kashmir cause. Iman, the floor is yours, please.
So as a girl who has been brought up and who was born in Muzaffarabad, I had the chance to start my education in Lahore after 12 years of education in Muzaffarabad. But I would say that I was a little sad to see how much generally the youth in Pakistan and bigger cities know about Kashmir, and that led me to start Kashmir awareness campaigns in Lahore, and we were successful in holding a Kashmir Solidarity March in Lahore through our LUMS, with our LUMS students. What I feel is that due to this entire lockdown, and as the respected as everyone said, that there are two kinds of lockdowns happening in Kashmir. One because of the military and one because of Corona, of course. I feel like the biggest impact that this has had is on the education. And I was going through the statistics and I saw that over this period of the lockdown, and especially after the abrogation of Article 370, there are almost 200, rather more than 400 schools that have been shut down because of which there's no education for the youth, and essentially no future, because without education you can't really go anywhere in today's era. And I was also researching, and I found that most of the IT companies have been shut down, and that essentially means that there's no connection with the world. So we don't really know what's actually happening in that part and how it's disconnected from the rest of the world. And as a Kashmiri and as having family who's in that part, I can't even imagine what, like, I feel absolutely absolutely hopeless and absolutely sad by the fact that they don't have they don't have access to basic necessities, and basic necessities such as let's say education, or even food, or even these things. So as a person who's not actually living over there but hearing stories from our families, it absolutely saddens me and it breaks my heart, and I can't even imagine the Kashmiri youth who's over there and who's actually going through all of these things. So I hope that with these conferences, and we can create awareness in the world and tell people that Kashmiris, they're being silenced and we shouldn't let them be silenced. Thank you.
Thank you, Iman. for that very solid contribution. But Iman, you don't have to be pessimistic. Your brothers and sisters and even younger children are under a very difficult situation, under a state terror situation in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. You have to keep up your work. You have to keep up your resistance. You have to keep up your resilience. So, whereas it is natural to feel sad and disappointed, but you got to carry on the work for the youth of Kashmir. And I am sure you will continue to do that. Thank you very much, Iman.
Thank you.
Now, we move on to the last spot, and I hope it will finish in 10 minutes. I see Shiraz Yunis Sahab back. Thank you very much, sir. I hope you had a very nice aftar and you had offered even salat.
Yes, Alhamdulillah, I finished my salat, but iftar not as really, but I will have a little while once this is done. But I managed to break my Alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much to bear with us, sir. We still have 5 hours to go here in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I understand that. My daughter is there in London. She's at UCL. So.
Okay. All right. Sir. Thank you. Now we move on now to Yasser Ahmed. Yasser Ahmed is another young Kashmiri in the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, who has been on the forefront of the Kashmir youth movement over here. He is the Secretary General of the of Kashmir Youth Assembly, and I give all the tribute to him for putting together this conference along with the President Zubair Awan. Yasser is a businessman, and despite his business, he gives considerable time to the Youth Assembly and to the Kashmir cause. We look forward to young people like Zubair, like Iman, like Farkanda, like Yasser to carry on this noble struggle of Kashmir throughout the world. Yasser is now to present the draft joint statement, and at the conclusion of it, when he reads it out for everybody's consideration, then if anybody has any comments, it will be good to have them and to incorporate. We have already a couple of suggestions or a couple of additions made by Sardar Hussain, but if there would be others, I haven't received. I had hoped that some of you may already send their views by putting in, because we had sent it out in Word system, and but I haven't heard anything. But I hope that during this consultation process, now we will have some views on that. Yasser, the floor is yours, please.
First of all, Barrister Trambu, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think, I need to tell everyone, it was our idea, but like the main person, the brain behind the whole effort is Barrister Trambu. So all credit goes to him. So it's a continuation of events. They have done 2 events before, and so this is the 3rd one. So hopefully, and this won't be the last one. So it's going to continue. So I'm going to read the statement to you, the joint statement. And at the end of it, so if you have any recommendations, we are going to include them in the statement. So we organized this conference at a time when you find the world combating COVID-19 pandemic of unprecedented dimensions. This crisis situation is being shamelessly exploited by India. The youth of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir is on the forefront of seeking the implementation of their rights to self-determination pursuant to the United Nations resolutions. The youth of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir has borne the brunt of Indian terror. Independent sources suggest that terror continues during this pandemic against the Kashmiri youth. In recent days, international news media has reported increase in Indian military cordon and search operations, resulting in a range of human rights violations, including physical intimidation and assault, invasion of privacy, arbitrary arrests, and unlawful detention, killing staging fake encounters, collective punishment, and destruction of private properties. The principal target of this terror is the youth, their families, and the properties. Human Rights Organization report that 13,000 young people between the ages of 9 and 16 have been arrested, besides being subjected to torture, inhumane, and degrading treatment or punishment. They are also subject to a process of indoctrination. We demand that the arbitrary and unlawful detention must cease forthwith, and that all prisoners released, including the release of Masarrat Zahra, a 26-year-old award-winning photojournalist accused of uploading anti-national posts on Facebook with criminal intentions to induce the youth. And booked under the Indian Penal Code, Masarrat's work as a freelance photojournalist has appeared previously in international media such as the Washington Post, Al Jazeera, and in Indian media outlets such as Quint, Caravan, and others. Post 5th August 2019, Indian troops have killed nearly 100 youth. The killing of Kashmiri youth must stop immediately. It is heartening that United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has asked the Indian authorities to release the political prisoners. We support the UN Secretary General and demand the immediate release of all political prisoners. The European Union is based on a strong commitment to promoting and protecting human rights, democracy, and rule of law worldwide. Human rights are at the heart of EU relations with other countries and regions. We urge the European Union, via its External Action Service, that any trade talks with India should be mindful that human rights and trade are two sides of the same coin. We further urge the EU actively uses the UN guiding principles on business and human rights as a substantive normative legal framework which obliges transitional companies and other types of business enterprises to comply under international law, with a view to foster accountability and transparency of all business, thus upholding compliance while safeguarding human rights. It is greatly concerning that India attempts to keep prisoners in confinement, including young Kashmiris, and bring about a planned demographic change as the occupying power. This should be thoughted and discussed in upcoming trade talks, for this amounts to ethnic cleansing that is prohibited under international and humanitarian law. We implore upon the UK government and members of both houses of parliament to use all available means, diplomatic and economic, to ensure a resolution of this long pending conflict, together with ensuring the promotion and protection of Kashmiri youth, human rights, and engage the Commonwealth in this process. We plead with UN Human Rights Council and the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights to protect Kashmiri youth, especially in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. We urge the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to address the gross human rights abuses against the children and young people of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. We ask the government to allow international organizations to examine the prison conditions under which the detained Kashmiri prisoners and young people are held, to commence dialogue with a view to achieve the release of all who are incarcerated simply because they demand the right to self-determination. We ask the Indian government to restore complete internet service, including 4G, particularly during this pandemic, to enable all health practitioners to access and download latest medical guidelines, conduct online medical video consultations and conferences to share best practices and help access and share vital information about how best to treat those affected by COVID-19 virus. We urge India and Pakistan and Jammu and Kashmir to begin direct tripartite negotiations at a neutral destination, for example, Geneva, within next 12 months to resolve the Jammu and Kashmir issue pursuant to United Nations resolutions. I thank you all.
Yasir, thank you for presenting the draft joint statement. Now, anyone who has a contribution to
I need to apologize. I need to leave because I'm going to help for iftar in Hira Mosque. So I have to say bye to everyone. Have a good iftar and Ramadan Mubarak. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Thank you.
All the best. I'm always here to help.
Thank
All the
you.
best. Thank you. Cheers. Salam.
Yes, salam. And now you heard the statement. You have the statement in front of you. Now, anyone who wants to make addition, alteration, amendment, please, there is a sign of hand there. Just switch that on. we'll give the floor accordingly. You can see on your left hand side with the arrow, and with the other thing in between is the hand there, like this, I think, like this. You can press that, and then it will come on the screen. Please. Okay. Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
You have put up your hand. Yes, go on.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said everyone should press the button, so that's why I pressed it.
No. I said anyone who wants to make the contribution or
Oh,
wants
okay.
to make any changes or attempt the alteration in the draft joint statement, he should raise his hand by pressing that button. I think Iman raised her hand. Is that correct, Iman? Iman?
Actually, it's me. It's me, Wakar Malik.
Oh, Wakar Malik has raised the hand. Okay. Uh, okay, go on, Wakar.
Thank you
Sahib, go
very
on.
much. Yes, Mr. Prabhu, thank you very much to proceed this the conference today, the youth conference today. I just want to say one question actually, one question and the one suggestion. In the current situation, we should raise our voice actually against the Labour Party, the leader Starmer statement, and I would like to say that we should make strong lobbying with Labour Party so that they start a Kashmir campaign, and because Labour Party is over the great supporter, and we should not angry with them, but we should make the good relation with the Labour Party.
Wakar,
Yes, sir.
you have seen the
Can't hear.
labor Wakar Sahib, thank you very much for that question. I'm sure you have seen OKC letter written to Sir Starmer. It was a very polite letter, and we strongly believe that this matter has to be handled with utter diplomacy and advocacy. And of course, our view at the moment is there is no change in the Labour Party policy. So these are remarks made by the Labour Party leader. These matter, there is no doubt, but we will continue to work with the Labour Party and with the Labour Party MPs and councillors up and down the country to see that the Labour Party policy remains intact. And above all, to be quite honest, Sir Starmer's points, comments are retracted. We'll work to that. And thank you for your question. Unless Professor Shalsa wants to add anything, or Zubair Awan.
I'm all content. I think it's perfectly fine.
Barrister Trambu, are you
Yes,
listening
sir.
to me?
Yes.
I would only add to what you have said regarding this.
Can you put your hand down, sir? Can you put your hand down? Because we can't see then your lovely face. Now we can.
I would like to add what you have said, that the letter that we wrote to Keir Starmer, that is a very polite one. And at the same time, today I was listening to Mr. Afzal, the deputy leader of the Labour Party in the British Parliament. He has said that as the Labour Party had to go to elections, and the motion that was approved in the conference 2019, that motion will again be what we call, it will be debated, and all the supporters of Kashmir cause in the Labour Party and outside the Labour Party need to use that motion as the policy of the Labour Party, and we have to approach the respective parliament members and other people, the central executive members of the Labour Party, and it is a democratic party and the democratic decisions must hold water. Therefore, that policy must persist and Labour Party must support Kashmiri's right to self-determination, which they have been consistently pursuing since 1995. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. Awan Saab, anything you wish to add as president of the organization?
No, thank you very much. I think I'm content with the draft. So I think we should move the motion to adopt if no one wants to make any.
There are a few more hands up. So let me get to that. Asif Saab, please. Dr. Asif Dar Saab.
Yes, I just want to add to look at the situation now. The occupation in India is now naked and brazen. It is because the BJP has a parent organization known as RSS. It should be our preliminary requisite to put this organization on the terror list. They are doing all the demographic. If you look at their phenomena, if you look at their literature, they want to change the demography of Kashmir by force, and they are on it right now. It's not about the Kashmiri Muslims only, it's about the Indian Muslims and other minorities as well. Is there a provision that we make a preliminary agenda that this organization has to be on the world's terrorist organization? Can we do it?
Indeed, sir. I think we have moved the motion within the APGK, which is the all-party group on Kashmir within the European Parliament, to move the motion to declare RSS and VHP as well, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, as terrorist organization for fueling the complete hatred and communal violence in India as well as in Kashmir, in occupied Kashmir, in terms to the demographic changes that they want to make there. So this is on the agenda, and I think we may put something to that effect in the draft, in the joint statement. Thank you, Dr. Saab. I don't see any other hands up. No, which is a good thing. Shiraz Yunis Saab, do you wish to say anything?
I'm okay with the suggestions, and much more learned people are there in this prestigious forum than me, so I would go with the majority. And of course, the people who are really going through feel the pain. So you have the better view on that, and I agree on that. Jazakallah.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Then I put Zubair Awan's suggestion that he moves the motion to approve with the changes, with a couple of changes which we shouldn't forget them, although he is not here, suggested by Sardar Ibrahim.
Sardar Hassan.
Is it Hassan? Yes, Hassan. He has made a couple of suggestions which we will incorporate within, that's the LOC violations, and to names of the other journalists whose names were taken by Dr. I think Dr. Dar Saab. And Dr. Dar Saab, can you send me those names, please? I think he is not there anymore. But anyway, now Zubair, you can move the motion and you can get the motion adopted.
Yes, thank you very much, Barrister Trumbull. Now, with those amendments to be incorporated, I make a motion for the adoption, a formal adoption of the draft joint statement, which should become the joint statement on the adoption of the same. If there is anyone to second the motion, and then that should be the formal adoption of the statement. I would need to hear from at least one of you.
Or Marina Zuka. I think Marina Zuka has seconded it. Is that correct?
15 सुने लोगों मेरे होने तो पाकिस्तान अभी ये काल जरा टाइम में तो अपना तो
Marina,
I can't hear you.
you can't see me.
I can see you, but I can't hear you. I didn't understand what you said.
I said, are you prepared to second the motion to adopt the joint statement?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Awan Saab, seconded by Marina Zuka.
Well, thank you very much, Marina. Thank you very much. And now that really is the formal adoption of the joint statement with those amendments as agreed and suggested earlier. Yes, over to you, Barrister Chambliza.
I now really give for very 1 minute closing remarks from Professor Shawl, and then you will take over, Zubair, for vote of thanks, and with that conclude the meeting. Professor Shawl, sir.
Thank you.
Barrister Trambo, it was refreshing to listen to the young voices, and it was really exhilarating to listen to Yunus Shiraz, who has classified one of the important realities of Kashmir. I usually call it constitutional terrorism, that he has called that the rights are being denied to the people of Kashmir democratically under the guise of democracy. This is the take of the conference, I would say. And I would also say that the youth in Kashmir at present are redefining the struggle for the right of self-determination, and I hope we need to join those voices and see that this struggle reaches its logical conclusion, that is freedom and independence of Kashmir. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Nazir Shawl. And with this, I will move to the last but not the least, my vote of thanks to all of you. And may I start with, first of all, the very honorable patrons of KYA, the Kashmir Youth Assembly, Professor Nazir Shawl Sahab. Thank you very much for your contribution today. For moderating the conference moderator, Barrister Manjeet Trambu Sahab, for so nicely, as always, and eloquently moderating this conference. Besides, of course, I would like to say thank you to every one of you, Shiraz Yunus Sahib, National Coordinator Muslim Affairs to the Prime Minister, all the way from Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. Uzma Rasool, I think Uzma dropped out, sorry. And Dr. Asif Makbul Dar Sahib, thank you very much. Nasir Mahmood Sahib, Muhammad Sahib, who is not with us at the moment, but he's made very useful contribution. And Sardar Usman Ati Khan from Pakistan, from Kashmir, Pakistan, and for making very useful contributions. Then we have Mir Adnan Rahman, academic in law at the University of Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Mir Sahib, thank you very much for your contribution and very thought-provoking suggestion and discussion. Besides, Sheikh Farhanda, thank you for your very scholarly discussion and contribution. And of course, very youthful and scholarly discussion and contribution by Marina Zuka, expert on international human rights law and international criminal law. Besides, we had Iman Haider, the student of law at Lahore, for her very nice contributions, very passionate contributions. That takes me to the organizers from the Kashmir Youth Assembly, particularly the Secretary General, my very dear friend and comrade, Yasir Ahmed. Thank you, Yasir, for making it a possibility today under the great guidance of our elders. and making it possible that we all sat together from all parts of the world and have this very useful and very important Kashmir COVID-19 Kashmir Youth Conference. There is work involved in the background of all those who have been involved in setting up this conference, and my thanks and gratitude goes to all of them, those who are listening. And last but not the least, our viewers and listeners on the YouTube channel, a live stream, who have been patient to hear the contributions being made from all of us. So with this, I, on behalf of everyone at Kashmir Youth Assembly and OKC, would like to say thanks and thank you very much. Have a nice evening ahead, and those who are still in the afternoon, a very nice afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Awan Saab. I just want to show you this particular thing which we talked during the conference. This is the petition, and I urge on all of you to spread this petition as much as possible. As I said, we have reached to the figure of 629,000, and we would want it to reach to 1 million. So with these words, as Zubair has concluded it, thank you very much to all my distinguished panelists, and to Shawl Saab and Zubair Awan Saab, and also Yasser Ahmad Saab. And then thank you for your patience. It has been nearly now 2.5 hours. And then with these words, I adjourn the Kashmir Youth Assembly virtual conference. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you to you too.